For all the money and energy you put into real estate investments, the least they could do is make you money, right? But so often I see investors make these totally avoidable mistakes. So by the way, I'm saving the best for last. The very last point is like the number one mistake that everybody's making here. Okay, so first mistake, investing near your home. You're investing in your backyard, as I like to say. Very often, I'll see people that they think about real estate investments, they think about what's in their town or in their community or in their state even. The problem is that what if your community or your state sucks for real estate investing, right? What if it's actually not that great of a return? I see this so often, like especially on the western half of the United States, people say, oh, I got real estate. It's in this town or in my town here. Sorry, if you're in the western half of the United States, you shouldn't be really doing rentals unless it's like a short-term rental, maybe. So it might be great for short-term rentals, but for long-term rentals, it's really not that good. So you wanna be careful of not buying in your own area just because it's close in proximity. And you're probably doing that because you think you can manage it yourself. You don't mind taking phone calls about the sinks, breaking or getting backed up or things like that, because you love working on properties, I'm sure, right? If you're like me, I'm a horrible property manager. I don't like fixing things. In fact, I don't even like fixing things around my own house, let alone somebody else's home. So why would I want to do that? So for me, personally, I like to invest in places outside of my area, and that's what usually makes me the most money, ironically enough. I make better cash flow in like the Midwest or the Southeast in certain communities where it's safer to invest versus in my own backyard. So be careful not to do that. The second thing, and it kind of goes along with this too, is doing it yourself. Now, granted, you can get lucky. If you're gonna invest in anything and not really get educated on it, I'll tell you, you could actually make a lot of money in real estate just by being lucky, because real estate over time does tend to go up. It really is a lower risk type of investment to do versus like the stock market or putting your money in crypto and things like that. Those are bigger gambles. With real estate, it does tend to appreciate, and so you tend to just make money without even trying. But the problem is this, that when you do it yourself, when you're trying to do it all yourself, you're trying to be your own property manager, you're trying to find your own deals, and you don't really know what you're looking for. The problem is that could be the very biggest opportunity cost. And that kind of goes along with my third point, that lack of education, right? If you don't really know what you're doing, now doing yourself, even if you're well educated, can still be costly because it costs you your time and energy. But if you don't have the education, that's another story, because now you don't even know what you're doing. You could be making these vital mistakes that could cost you more money or set you back more years. You'll still make money, but maybe you won't make as much. I tell people all the time, if you think education's expensive, try ignorance. Not knowing what you're doing and making all those mistakes versus avoiding those mistakes. Hopefully that's why you're here, is you're trying to avoid these mistakes, right? That is more valuable than anything, because you want to avoid having to go through that pain, and not just the money pain that it could happen, but the time pain, right? For those people that, just made bad real estate mistakes, I was one of those too. In the last recession, that was not a good time. That set me back. That cost me money, and that essentially took money away from me because I wasn't liquid anymore. I wasn't able to use more money to buy real estate when it did matter. So these mistakes that I learned, my pain should become your gain. So be sure to get yourself educated. Don't just try to do it yourself. Don't just hear a little bit and get excited and think like shiny object syndrome, like I'm gonna do it, yeah, I'm gonna make lots of money. And then you just try to do it yourself and you just cost yourself way more money than you should. Not to mention time, energy, and joy and happiness that's just sucked out of your life. And then your family's like, oh, he's grumpy again. Ugh, I can't stand this. You don't wanna do that, right? You wanna make sure that you actually are well educated in what you're doing. Now, I would say the fourth point here, and this is a pretty big one, is that you're investing only for the short term, or you're trying to make a quick buck. Now, many times you'll see people get excited, and I understand it, I get it, because even when you look at different real estate education courses and companies, for someone to say, you know what, you're gonna be able to buy this property, and you're gonna make $300 a month. That's not as exciting as it's saying, hey, I flipped this property and we made $50,000, or I wholesaled this property, we made $65,000 or $100,000. That's definitely sexier, that sells, and people want that. So I get it. So even when I started doing real estate investing, I was looking more for, wait a minute, I can buy it under value, buy low, sell high, make lots of money, and boom, I've made cash. The problem is this, is that when I bank on values going up, right? If I bank on appreciation, especially, bad thing to do. So instead of just trying to invest for the short term, it's not bad to do flips and things like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. It's a great way to make money if you know what you're doing. So going back to those previous points, you're not just doing it yourself, you don't just lack education, right? And you're not just trying to buy stuff near your home, although you might have to do that kind of strategy. You gotta be careful. You gotta really know what you're doing to do that. And yes, with a lot of time and energy you put into it, you could make great money, much more than maybe you make with your own job. And so Just understand this, it's not passive, it's very active. It's like having another job or a business. And yes, it can be a very lucrative business, but just be careful. So when you're just trying to make quick money, that's where you get burnt. That's what I did in the last recession. I was trying to make quick money, but then when I was hoping that the money would appreciate, it didn't work out, right? It didn't work well that way. Longer term, that's what I'm talking about, just getting that regular stable income coming in. I'll tell you, I have a lot of friends in the wholesaling as well as the flipping industry, a lot of them. The ones that actually came out of 2022 better. Now, you didn't hear a whole lot about real estate being bad in 2022, but those that were doing short-term type of investing where they're trying to flip properties and things like that, or wholesale properties, a lot of those companies went out of business. A lot of them failed, went bankrupt. A lot of them lost a ton of money. Some of them barely came out of it alive. The ones that came out strongest were the ones that focused on longer term money. And that leads me to the number one mistake, this number 5, which is number 1, if you got that, right? The top mistake, which is my 5th point here, that people aren't doing is they don't focus on cash flow. They bet on that appreciation. The problem is this, is that again, if you try to hope that you make more money on the back end, you don't have cash flow. Those guys that came out on top, what they did is they started buying long-term rentals. They started cherry picking some of their best deals. They said, you know what, I could actually go and sell this and make a good transactional commission. But understand, when you're doing that kind of short-term quick money, you have to keep doing that to make more money. You essentially really have created a job. It's not passive at all. Anything but passive. But when those guys would take some of those properties, some of the better properties, say, you know what, I'm gonna turn that into a rental. And they did that. Some of them had property management companies. They don't mind managing their own properties. Others let others property manage it. And when they did that, they started building up their rental portfolio. So when their business started getting hit by 2022 especially, 2023 has not been as bad for them, but 2022 was really hard. When they got hit by that market shift, that change, they were able to weather that storm. They were able to come out on top because they still had regular stable income coming in from their rentals, even though their business side was suffering. This is true for you too. Even if you work a job, right? You never know if that job could go away. You don't know if you might get laid off or furloughed again, or we decide to shut things down for another 2 months because of some virus breaking out or something like that. We don't know what's gonna happen. But if you got passive income coming in all the time, even outside of your active income, if that job goes away or you have to be out of work for a matter of months, you're still safe. You're still okay. You've got cash reserves, you're liquid, and you got cash flow coming in. That 1-2 punch protects you as well as giving you a good offense of giving you more passive income. So that's the key, guys. That's the real secret, is that if you focus on cash flow rather than focusing on just that short-term thinking, you focus on the longer term of how to create wealth, lasting wealth and cash flow that continues on, you will find that you will be so much better off in real estate investing. Better off than I would say 90% plus of other investors out there, because they don't do that. That's where you go from a gambler to a true wise investor. Okay guys, if you thought this was valuable, please like and subscribe. Also check out this next video about money mistakes in our series here.